my name is Caitlin, and sometimes I forget Legally Blonde has an actual sequel, Red, White, and Blonde, because I end up thinking Legally Blondes is the actual sequel, kind of like Mean Girls and Mean Girls 2. But nope, it's just the third film in this franchise, kind of. And we're possibly getting a third Legally Blonde movie. It's been talked about on and off for years now, but who knows if any of that will happen. And I want to talk about Legally Blondes now. The movie about Elle Wood's fabulous younger British cousins, Annie and Izzy, played by Millie and Becky, the twins from Sweet Life and Zack and Cody. And honestly, not much else. I know they attempted doing music at some point, but it kind of looks like that didn't pander out. Anyway, they play Annie and Izzy in this film, and Annie and Izzy are so excited because them and their single dad, because their mother passed away, are moving to LA. Their dad got a job as some English professor, and I guess we'll come back to that. It's not that important. For now, they're just excited to end up in LA. I don't know how their stuff survived. Like, they did such a crap job packing. I'm sorry. And their dad got their car shipped over for some reason, which is like fine, but I don't know. If Elle's giving them her house to sleep in, then she probably has a car lying around that they can use. Right. Elle also gives them 2 chihuahuas because she had a chihuahua, so they need chihuahuas. It's actually fine. The chihuahuas don't even show up that often throughout the film. They're just there. And even though the girls are probably jet lagged and tired from a 12-hour flight, the first thing they do is go shopping in LA because they want to get new school clothes. The dad has to tell them something, but they ran out before he could say it. Anyway, after they annoy another cashier trying to get a discounted price, he informs them that they're going to be wearing uniforms. I mean, this feels like something you would say way more in advance, not the day before they're going to start their new school in a new country, but, I guess it slipped his mind. Bumbling dad and all that. Ha 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 ha. So the girls go to their new private school, Pacific Preparatory, and the principal is familiar with the Woods name because she was not a fan of Elle. Anyway, typical principal, really strict on the rules and all that. We also learn that the girls are on a partial scholarship, and people who are on full scholarships have to do work study at the school. Anyway, back to their first and possibly only class, history class, where they meet the local mean girl, Tiffany. Tiffany literally has her name on her seat, and she freaks out at both Izzy and Annie for sitting in her seat. Later on, she goes up to them and apologizes, trying to keep her enemies close and all that, playing it off as OCD or something. And she informs them that you don't want to hang out with scholarship students because they're poor and unfortunate. And then her right-hand girl, whose name I don't care about, goes, "I see poor people." Like, what the hell? This movie is prejudiced against blondes and poor people. I mean, I guess people in real life are prejudiced against poor people. And so not wanting to be ostracized like the other scholarship students, Annie and Izzy just don't say anything. And for some reason, they just go on trying to befriend Tiffany when she doesn't even seem like that great of a person. But, when you're a teenager and you want to fit in, you just do stuff sometimes. Once Tiffany goes to the girls' house to study, the dad spills, because, I don't know, he's a blabbermouth, that they are partial scholarship students and they could never afford this house and blah, blah, blah. He will eventually be able to afford living in that area. Or else, what would be the point of moving to that area? Why'd he even apply to the job in an area he couldn't afford to live? If he's so strapped for cash, why is he sending 2 kids to a private school, which, going off of what the cost of these schools are in Southern California, would be somewhere between $40,000 to $50,000 yearly? Even with partial scholarship, what is partial scholarship? Like 50%? You're still paying $40,000 for your kids to go to school, to private school, actually. I don't know. I guess if you want to be cost efficient, why not just go to public school? What's the difference? Anyway, Tiffany tells the girls about some formal event, but she tricks them and tells them that it's a pool party on a boat. And so the girls are so embarrassed, they show up in their swimsuits. And she just announces to everyone that they're poor. I can't. So the girls immediately want to just go back to England, which is all fine and stuff, but I don't know. It's not like we see them talk to any of their friends back home or something. Anyway, the girls go back to the school and they apologize and make friends with all the other scholarship students. Things are going well. They're having a pool party. They have a weirdly intimate moment where they're trying to help, who is it, Annie or Izzy, with their public speaking fear. But even though Tiffany humiliated them and everything, she still needs to mess with them. So Tiffany tricks Annie into thinking Izzy is going behind her back and trying to steal the boy she likes, Chris. In reality, Chris and Izzy are just studying together, and Izzy is trying to help Chris get with Annie because she knows she likes him too. And then 2 things happen that will be important later. They find out that Brad is a scholarship student. Oh my god, no! And they help this one worker at the school flirt with one of the teachers, and honestly, pretty inappropriately, they later tell them like, ooh, we're going to the history museum, and then they're gonna sleep together. I mean, they don't say it like that, but still, like, why would you imply you're gonna go on a date and sleep with the guy to your students? That's so inappropriate. Anyway, it's time for the big history test because, yeah, history's the only class they're going to. And of course, at first someone pulls the fire alarm and the test gets postponed. But then Izzy and Chris are accused of cheating. So they have to appeal at student court that they are innocent, or they have to suffer the worst fate imaginable. Public school. I know it's worse than death, but the girls figure out they're being framed by Tiffany and her wandering boyfriend, Justin. He wasn't really worth mentioning. He's just kind of a rude jerk that says sexist stuff and can't remember girls' names and is easily irritated by pen clicking. Annie also pretends to be Izzy to overcome her public speaking fear and win the case, while Izzy is locked in the bathroom. And just like Legally Blonde, they use shoes to solve the crime. And just when they're gonna get in trouble for being in a office when they weren't supposed to, they motion to the woman they taught to flirt, and she flips her hair at the teacher, and he gets them off the hook. I mean, okay. But yeah, Tiffany's dad has donated a crazy amount of money to the school, buildings, chairs, all the computers, and he runs this thing called Uber Tech, which is like the Apple of this world or something like that. And because he donated all the computers, she had this Uber code, which is like a master code to go into the computers, and Tiffany thinks she can't be punished just because of the sheer amount of money her family has donated to the school. Well, she's wrong. Principal Higgins ends up kicking her out of the school. Hooray! And it ends at a dance where Chris and Izzy dance together, and Brad, now not ashamed of being a scholarship student, goes to dance with Annie. Tiffany has been banished to a public school, and her right-hand girl, whose name I have no idea what it was, says that there's a new brunette in charge. As if this film was ever gonna get a sequel. The end. Yeah, so it's a ridiculous movie. I don't think it's as bad as people say it is. I think people rate it poorly sometimes because they think it's unworthy to be attached to Legally Blonde or ruins Legally Blonde. And they don't like that something that was made for teenagers or young adults has been kidified, kind of, which is what they did with Mean Girls 2. And while I can barely remember anything about Mean Girls 2, I think it's fine with this film. Kidifying stuff has been around for like ever. You have Legally Blondes, you have Mean Girls 2. All that is like a kid's Saturday Night Live. Any cartoon that then has a baby version of that, like Looney Tunes and then they had baby Looney Tunes, or Bratz and then they had baby Bratz. I guess those things are kids, but then even younger kids, but still, it's something that just happens sometimes. Or Deadpool being put in a PG Spider-Man show. It happens, and I think it's kind of fine just to have something more accessible to kids. Like, they don't do the bend and snap, they do the flip and wave thing with their hair. You also have to remember that the reverse happens. Like, they take something for kids and they make the dark and gritty adult version to show we're more mature and serious. Like, that hasn't been done to death. Anyway, yeah. Point is, I don't really mind that they made a more kid-friendly version of Legally Blondes. The fashion, the decor, the hairstyles, they are all so fiercely 2009 though. Some of it I love, some of it I don't. I think some of it's coming back in fashion. I also kind of like that they had these protagonists that want to like get into law and computers and all that. I don't know. I found it interesting enough instead of having some vague dream like, I want to go to college or Ivy League college. The dad was whatever. Tiffany was whatever. The scholarship students were okay. We don't see a lot of them. Although one of them was named Rainbow. He's one of the scholarship students and he stood out to me because his parents are hippies. They live in a yurt. After that, I was like fixated on him for a little while because why is he here? They have hippie schools. I assume they have them in California. I guess because they offered him the scholarship, but I don't know. Nothing makes sense in this movie to me, money-wise. People are seriously looking down at others for not paying full price. I'd say it's completely unrealistic, but I know that's not the case. To see the world through a rich person's eyes. But no one in this movie is actually poor. They're just middle class. at worst. Principal Higgins was also one character you think early on is going to be like this main antagonist. She's going to hate the Woods girls because she hates Elle Woods. But she doesn't. She's just really strict about her job, which is fine. A lot of people are. She was even impressed with them at the trial. Like, she doesn't hate them or anything. I'm still confused about the dad. He applied to jobs in the US in an area he couldn't afford to live, but yet did so anyway and was only able to find living accommodations because his niece let them use one of her houses, assuming she owns a house in DC, where she's a lobbyist right now. Other than that, the one thing I don't like about Annie and Izzy is how they handle shopping. They never pay full price. Yeah, that's all fine and good. But they are constantly finding something on the wrong rack or something's very insignificant, but they'll complain about it to try to get discounted prices. Or they flirt with the guy. As someone who has spent years in retail, they don't care. There's thousands of items in the store, and because someone picked something up, put it in the wrong place, and you unfortunately thought it was less than it was, it does not mean they're going to change the price. They just want to ring you up, maybe offer you a credit card if their manager is pushing for it, and go on with their day. Most of these people make minimum wage, no commission, and they don't want to deal with this. No one goes to a retail job to barter. I mean, very, very few people do, but most retail establishments, you don't barter. That part just annoyed me so much, and they're trying to make that one cashier in LA at the Karen Glass store, they're trying to make her look like a bad guy, but she's just doing her job. She's not trying to rip them off like that salesperson in the first Legally Blonde movie. Anyway, yeah, the money doesn't make sense. I don't like how they treat retail workers. I thought some of the scenes were too darkly lit, like when they were shopping with their scholarship friends. There were some funny lines in there, like the "I swear on my BCB dress" line. And I do enjoy the visual representation about how they love pink and they're unashamed of it, and their appreciation for feminine fashion. When they changed the uniforms, it was like, whatever. I didn't hate it. It was also just kind of a, I have a uniform, but I'm different kind of thing. You've seen it a million times before. I thought the court case was well done. The acting was pretty much okay across the board. No one did a horrendous job. And while Tiffany was a little bit too cartoonish, I still appreciated that she was trying to be kind of that fake friend who embarrasses someone. They're not just this outright bully that is just too over the top. If we do get a prequel sequel series, I do kind of hope that Elle ends up going to the same school that just lets horses and students all roam across the same lawn, just to see if they acknowledge this movie's existence or not. But anyway, yeah, that was Legally Blonde's 2009, where being poor and blonde are the worst things you can ever do. Is it the best movie? No. I say it's like a 4 or a 5, but it's nowhere close to the worst movies I've ever seen. Finally, I would just say that I enjoyed Annie and Izzy being close sisters, which is to be expected. They're twins. They're real life sisters. But I enjoyed watching them be supportive of each other and encourage each other. They get jealous. They get into fights. But they make up and they move on. It was just sweet to see. I think that's what gets me through the movie and be able to finish it from start to finish all the time, just because I, at the end of the day, love tales about siblings overcoming stuff. Oh my god, every time the girls like touch their fingers, it makes the little sparkle sound. Anyway, that's Legally Blonde's 2009. Everything doesn't make sense. It's not the best direct-to-DVD written film ever. Nowhere near the worst. But not doing enough to be anywhere near the best. Anyway, yeah, I just want to talk about this film because I've been watching it. I enjoy it. I hope spring comes soon and you're having a good day. Bye!